Hey guys, welcome to May 14th's Q&A on how to get the job. My name is Tony Martin. As many of you know, I write a blog called howtogetthejob.blog, and love for you to follow me if you like what you're hearing here on Instagram and Facebook as well as LinkedIn, and certainly share this with anybody you think that might be able to benefit from this. And also, if you're watching the recorded version of this and you're not live, still, feel free to respond with comments and questions, and I will gladly review those and make sure that they're part of weekly discussions moving forward, but also part of the content so that way it can help you. As you and many others right now, 30 million of us in the US are looking for jobs, unfortunately. So with that, today I wanted to kind of give a little a roadmap, if you will. I was saying earlier last week, during the last event, that I was going to open today with a roadmap discussion of really the application process, okay? And how you can predictively figure out what's going to be part of the interview process and at what stages of the interview you're going to get asked specific questions. And it's really important that you kind of figure this stuff out, because if you don't, you're going to turn off people inadvertently. And I guess that, so let's first say this, that when you are applying somewhere, your applicant tracking system is going to screen out some people. And there's a question a little later about how to get your resume to stand out. So there are ways to get your resume to get past the applicant tracking system. And we'll discuss that. But there is some really secret squirrel stuff that will help you get past. And much like a magician can't reveal the secrets of his tricks, or he gets ostracized from the magic community, I can't reveal some of these secrets on a live forum. But for my clients, I've certainly told them some almost guaranteed ways to ensure that your resume gets past an applicant tracking system and at least into a human's purview, and making sure that a human being looks at it. So we'll talk a little bit about some general stuff next, but just so you know, there are certain ways that you can really do that, and if you want to reach out to me separately, we can talk about that. But when you're looking at a resume, when you're applying to a job, I'll tell you, one of the biggest frustrations that recruiters have is candidates that answer questions that were never asked, and it eats up a lot of the time. And when you do that, you actually end up doing yourself a disservice. So, for example, applicant tracking, the recruiting process, when you apply to a job, you look at the position description, right? That position description is going to be your roadmap to your interviews. And what I mean by that is, very often, the first interview you're going to get is a phone screen. And here's a tip. The phone screen is usually conducted by a person with the least amount of decision-making authority in your hiring process. However, this individual probably has the most influence over who gets hired, okay? And what I mean by that is it's usually someone that's not really tied to the job, but they're the ones that had 20 minutes to go through these 30 applicants or 10 applicants and just ask them these general questions. But often, then they're also the same person that's going to be chaperoning you through the process. And at the end of the day, when the hiring manager says that they want to hire you or hire Mike or hire Steve, they're going to then consult this person and say, hey, how were they during the recruiting process? Because you were the one scheduling all their interviews and you were the one doing all this stuff, and they're going to be your advocate or they're going to be your enemy. So, general rule of thumb, let's always just treat people the way you should be treated, but don't just assume because someone's title isn't as impressive as you want it to be, or that you think that they matter less. And don't try to actually, overinflate yourself. So in the first interview, the phone screen, okay? The phone screen is modeled off the position requirements. So on a position description, you got an overview, position requirements, and position requirements are things like you must have 10 years of experience doing this. You must be able to come into the office every day. You must be able to lift 50 pounds. Things like that are requirements, okay? So whoever's calling you probably only has 20 minutes to get through their questions, because their job is to disqualify people. Every recruiter's job, I don't care who they are, their job is to disqualify you. So you want to make sure you don't disqualify yourself with a bad answer. So if someone asks you on the phone screen all these requirement things, you should already know the answers to those questions, and they usually aren't tough. Okay, are you willing to relocate? And we've talked about this before. Lead with yes, if that's the truth. If it's not, then you shouldn't have applied to the job. But if you apply to the job and you wanted to relocate to begin with, say, yes, absolutely, I want to relocate, blah, 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 blah. Don't say, well, I think I want to relocate because, and then finally get to the answer. Next, when they ask you, do you have experience doing this? Say yes, and then give a 1 minute, example. This is on the phone screen. Don't give a 15-minute soliloquy about this and how it's related to that, and then you also did this over here. Don't try to blow them out of the water on this first interview. It is so important that you stick to the time, that you respect the person who's speaking with you's time, because truthfully, like I said, they're not the decision maker, okay? But I guarantee if you are long-winded on your phone screen, then what's going to happen is they are going to assume that you're long-winded all the time and that you love to hear yourself talk, and that's going to get back to the hiring manager. And I get it. Hey, look, it's an interview, and I haven't had an interview in a while, and I get to talk about myself, and everyone loves talking about themselves. But leave something for dinner. Leave something for dessert. Leave something for the next interview. So the first interview is all about the requirements and the position requirements, okay? Then if you get called back to a second interview, now you're going to really focus on the responsibilities of the role, most likely. And the responsibilities of the role are they're called accountabilities, often in position descriptions. But these are going to be the spot that is going to be where you can focus on your accomplishments, because maybe they're upgrading their SAP system, or they're going to be going through an HRIS overhaul, or maybe on the operations side, they're bringing a vessel from dry dock to operational. So that's where you can lean into your experience and give more stories. But that's really for the second and third interview, maybe more. Now, again, second, third, fourth, it's kind of a moving target, because let's face it, we've all had stuff on our schedule. If we're hiring managers, we've all had stuff on our schedule, and we were supposed to meet with someone from 10 to 11, and then ultimately we got busy, so we moved that 10 to 11 focus. We're going to go to 11 to 12, and the person that was with you from 11 to 12 is now moving to 10. So second, third, fourth interview, it's all kind of, gray. But the bottom line is that second, third interview are going to be about your accountabilities and your accomplishments, and this is where you can focus on them. So you do not want to focus on them necessarily right on in that first phone screen. So then second, third interviews are usually about that. Your final interview is more about culture fit. When you're sitting with the hiring manager, he cares that you can do the job. He's going to ask you some of that, of course, or she. But she's really going to be concerned with more about you being a culture fit, because they're going to be joining their team, right? And we've all been part of a hiring process where the recruiter's job is to make sure that he gets it or she gets it right to bring the right person to the team. So that's really the third part of the interview. So first part of the first interview is a phone screen. Answers should be short, should be concise, yes or no, little detail, but allow them to move on with their day. The second interview is more about accomplishments and your accountabilities. That's going to be on the job description. And your final interview is more about culture fit. Now, here's a way you can kind of tell on your job description how to answer the culture fit questions. I actually wrote some of these down from a job description. So I was helping someone with their resume this week, and I'm tailoring it to a specific job for them, with them. And under that, it's called qualifications ideal, is the way this job description's written. This job description says they want a hands-on leader. They want a team builder. They want someone who has intellectual agility, someone who's energetic, so a high energy person, ability to strategically think. Now, if I was consulting that HR team, now this is for your HR people out there, do not put these traits on your job description, because well-trained candidates are going to know how to answer your questions. Now, if you are a candidate and you see these things on that job description, then you know the answers to the questions when it comes to culture fit. If they say, what kind of environment do you work best in? You can be like, well, look, I'm a really high energy person. and I work really well in a team dynamic where I'm working with and bouncing ideas off of, and I like to support other people. Now, me as a recruiter, that sounds really good because you volunteered all the information I was hoping to hear. But guess what? As a recruiter, I wrote all that stuff in the job description. So I really have no idea at the end of the day if you're being genuine and authentic and going to be a good culture fit for my team, or if you're just really good at research and you read something and you memorized it. And also, by the way, when you're applying to jobs, this is a really long open, I'm sorry, but there was just some good information here. When you're applying to jobs, make sure you kind of memorize that job description. Make sure that you know what you want to talk about in the interview, because they're going to ask you questions and you're going to want to have multiple stories to bounce ideas off of to prove you can do something and you have done it. And you don't want the same story over and over and over again. And I've been in that process where I've hired people or didn't hire people because they would tell me the same story that they told the hiring manager, that they told the VP. So in other words, he's a one-trick or she's a one-trick pony, and she couldn't come up with more examples. And you know, I was having drinks with a friend last night, and he was like talking about before he became a CEO. And before he became a CEO, he applied to be a CEO, and they would ask him a question, and he said, yeah, I've done that once. But now that he's been the CEO for 13, 14 years, and it's probably been that longer, he's done it 12 or 13 times, which means he has 12 or 13 stories to back up their question. Have 12 or 13 examples. You're never going to need them, but you should at least have more than 2. So hopefully that helps for interviewing and how to predict what interview questions you're going to get. It's about the job description. Memorize the job description, and then that'll help. All right. Now, as always, you have a question, put them in to... Thanks, Eric. If you have a question, put it in the comments. I will pause just like that because one of my weaknesses is I can't talk and read at the same time. So I can talk about what I'm reading, but I can't talk and process a question at the same time. So often there'll be this awkward pause. But hey, good news. Just so everyone knows, for the past couple of weeks, we've had some interruptions. It was my daughter, 4-year-old, being naked a couple of weeks ago off camera. Then last week, she actually made an appearance. I think this week we got some processes in the house under control, but we'll see if we get graced with another visit. Okay, so my first question came this week from Sharon from Orlando. I'm helping her actually with her resume, but she asked me about how to best market yourself on LinkedIn. And this is a really important tool that none of us should be overlooking, okay? First, there's an about section on the very top of LinkedIn. That is your come look at me statement. Why are people wanting to look at you? Talk about it. Talk about what's important to you, why you're qualified, what you've done, your key deliverables. Almost like your professional summary, but you can be less formal. You can say I and me and what I've accomplished and things like that. Okay, remember, resumes, LinkedIn, no place to be humble. Don't be arrogant, but certainly make sure that you focus on what you've accomplished. Also, make sure that if you're on LinkedIn looking at stuff, make sure you're posting stuff, make sure you're liking articles, make sure you're sharing things that are relevant to the job you had or the job you want, okay? It's also really important. Look, I post stuff all the time because of, obviously, I am starting a business where I help people with their resumes and interviewing, and I've been doing it for 15 years, but now I'm doing it as my own, as an independent. I love it when people share my posts, hint, so feel free to share this. I love it when people like my stuff. I love it when people comment on it. And you know what that means? That means that if somebody always likes my post, I'm going to remember that, especially these early stages of life in this business. And if you're always liking jobs that a recruiter is posting, even if you're not the one that's the right fit for that job, that recruiter's going to start noticing. If you're always sharing that recruiter's post to other people, then that recruiter is going to notice. And then finally, when that recruiter has a job that's a match for you, they are going to be much more likely to actually respond to you if you LinkedIn message them. Or if you sent them an email, they're going to be like, I know that name. Why do I know that name? And then they're going to link in and they're going to look, oh, this is the guy or gal that always likes my post. So use that. share posts that you like, stay active, create your own posts, create your own things out there. Certainly make sure that you're in those social groups. There's webinars happening daily right now during COVID-19 where you can be part of and you can cross-market yourself. Always do those things. And last thing is the recommendation section. I'm not a big fan on, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a spot on the bottom that someone endorses you as a recruiter or as an oil and gas person. I don't put any stock into endorsements, okay? It's just a little click. It's a thumbs up, essentially. And if you have 20,000 followers like I do, you get to 99 pretty quickly, okay? But they don't mean anything. I take much more stock in the recommendations. If someone recommends you and says, I worked with Tony from 1999 to 2003. During that time, he was a recruiting specialist, blah, 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 blah. That matters a lot more. And frankly, if you have a lot of followers and a lot of people that you're connected to, but you don't have any recommendations, that also says something. So I'm a big believer that you need to get recommendations and they need to be written and you need to spread them all out. If you get them all today, that's great that people are willing to do it, but I'm just saying it shows that you obviously solicited. There's nothing wrong with soliciting it, and you should, but start early, start often, start continuously. And honestly, all my recommendations, I'm just blessed that I never had to ask for them, and I just seem to get them as they came along. But you should have some recommendations down there. And about recommendations, don't be afraid to tell the person who wrote it that there's 14 typos and you'd like for them to write it again, or you can rewrite it and copy it over to them and say, hey, look, I really appreciate this, but I noticed there was a couple of typos. Do you mind fixing that? Now, I'm a typo king, okay? That's why I much rather talk than type, because I have Tony Ebonics, which was a past company's description of my email sometimes. And with that, though, I know that when I'm typing something for somebody else, I would always say, hey, this is a recommendation for you, dude. Enjoy it. If you see something you don't like, come back and tell me, because this is a reflection of you and me and my ability to, endorse you. So hopefully that helps, Sharon. And Melissa from Tomball, Texas, how do you increase the opportunity to stand out in an applicant process? Now, I got a separate question this week, which is very similar, which was how do you avoid getting rejected by the applicant tracking system? So I'm going to try to answer both of these questions together. So first of all, to get noticed, you need to figure out ways to make you the less risky candidate, okay? You need to answer the questions before they're asked. If you have a large date gap on your resume, you should probably address that in a cover letter. And if you're struggling to figure out how to address these things, then you should talk to someone like me who can help you form your narrative. But if you have questions on your resume, or you live in Austin and you're applying to the job in Houston, then you need to put maybe in a professional summary, excited about a role in Houston where excited about this opportunity in Houston. And then again, in your cover letter, you should be addressing the obvious question is, you live in Austin, are you going to move to Houston for this role? Because right now, especially, every job that's going to get posted is going to have 4, 5, 6 times the number of applicants that they used to have. And for that, you should be applying to the job within 1, 2, or 3 days at the most of the job going live. Okay? If you've applied to a job that's a week old, your likelihood of getting selected to interview is much less, because they probably already got a good batch of candidates in the first couple of days. So stay on those job boards all the time. But make sure that, again, that you're addressing the gaps before they're actually asked. If you see that the system if the job description requires SAP system experience and you've been working on Oracle for 5 years, I guarantee if you do not write SAP on your resume, the system is not going to kick it to a recruiter if the system is that robust. So you should put on your resume, I've been an Oracle expert for the past 15 years, open parenthesis, similar system to SAP, close parenthesis. Now, you at least have the word SAP on your resume, which will help the applicant tracking system push you to the next level. Even though it's not a perfect bullet, The system doesn't care. It's just matching up keywords to keywords. And again, now I can't share it on here, but I almost have a foolproof plan and way. If you think a job is perfect for you and you want to get past the applicant tracking system, then you need to talk to me privately, because I just can't put it on a live forum. But there are ways to do it, and they will help you and in your career. But like I said, there's a magician's code, there's a recruiter's code, and I don't want to be ostracized from the very elite, hoity-toity recruiting royalty. So just so you know that. Always too, when you're trying to get noticed, reach out to those human beings. We talked a little bit about this last week. Reach out to those people on LinkedIn that are associated with HR, that are associated with the hiring manager. Make sure you send them private messages. And again, like I said, if you've been all along liking their posts, liking their comments, following them, helping them recruit for roles that have nothing to do with you by forwarding it out to their network and sharing it, they're going to notice it, okay? I notice when the 3 people that share my post every week share it. I love it, and I thank them wholeheartedly. And I guarantee if any one of them called me at 6 p.m. on a Saturday night when I was with my kids, I would drop my kids, place them gently on the floor, and go into the office and give them my undivided attention, because they are taking time to help me, and I will take all the time I possibly can to help them, especially during right now what's going on in this world. So hopefully that helps. A lot more I could say about that, but we're already 21 minutes into this 30-minute thing, and I have a lot more questions to get through that I'd like to try to get through this week. Again, though, if you have a question live, put it at the bottom there. I will be happy to try to answer it. Tim in San Antonio, networking is the best way to find a job. How do you network in a time like this? We've had this one before, but get new people watching this every week, so forgive some of the repeats for the loyal few that enjoy every week. Reach out to previous connections first of all, okay? Keep your previous connections that you used to keep up with regularly, keep up with them regularly still, especially right now. Check in with them. Say, hey, how are you doing during this COVID-19? How's your family? We all are going through the same thing. You know, we can all relate to it, and they'll probably appreciate you checking in. Now, when you check in, don't say, hey, I'm checking in because I need a job and I know you guys are hiring. Check in to see how you're doing. The natural response will be, well, how are you doing? Well, you know, I'm okay. I got laid off, blah, 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 blah. But don't lead with what you want, okay? This is just basic salesmanship 101. But certainly do that and make sure that you're reaching out to previous contacts. There's plenty of groups on LinkedIn. There's webinars. There's lots of different events like this that are going on different social medias that you can be part of, and you can, you know, join the fun and the banter, if you will, in the comments section. But be part of those sort of things. Join professional organizations. A lot of them right now, frankly, are waiving some fees for the next couple of months because all of their events aren't happening. So there's a few professional organizations I can think of that are frankly waiving their events for February, March, April, May, and maybe even June until they can start spending time with each other again. But in the meantime, that might create a great opportunity for you to actually get in there and see some of what their events are, or see some of their free events that are doing on Zoom. And since there aren't any private events that are for the paid for members, you might have the same audience you would regularly, because those paid for members are going to the Zoom event because they can't get to the private events. So certainly look at those sort of things. And certainly here's something that's important too. Look, there's a certain level of humility when you've been laid off. I get that. There might be some embarrassment, but there shouldn't be. Most people have been laid off at some point in their life. And it's just being honest with people that can help you. Nobody can help you if they don't know you need help. Nobody can help you if they don't know you're actually looking. So make sure that if you are looking, you tell people. You can put it on your LinkedIn profile. You can change it so you put the last job ended in May or March or April, and you put in your profile seeking a new opportunity, or something like that. But you can put things like that, and that'll get you some traction, especially if your network is strong and if you've treated people the way you've wanted to be treated throughout your career, then people will be around there to help you now and see how they can help you. But if you've always been the kind of person that doesn't return phone calls, then you're going to have a much more difficult path forward. All right. How do you answer the question, what do you want to make during the interview process. Now, actually, I listened to a webinar today and I totally disagreed with them. I didn't tell them that because frankly, I was just listening to it. But first of all, you should kind of have an idea of what the position should pay prior to applying to the job. And you can go to places like Glassdoor, Salary.com, Payscale.com, and even Indeed. They all have spots on their websites where you can price a job. So this is really important for people who are changing industries from oil and gas and going into aerospace or whatever. And hopefully you're not going to aerospace right now. That's a tough industry as well. But for whatever you're going into, you can go to those websites, type in your job description, type in the position title, and it'll give you salary ranges. On Glassdoor, it'll even tell you what people who are in those jobs right now have reportedly been making. Now, of course, it's garbage in, garbage out. If I wasn't honest and I work at XYZ company and I said I made $300,000 a year, well, there's only one data point that says 300,000. It might change the range, then it might not be accurate. But do your research. When you get the question, because you will, and I believe, this is where I disagree with the webinar, you have to give an answer, especially today. There are going to be, if there is 10 people that are being interviewed for the job and 5 of them give an answer about what they are looking to make, then I guarantee I'm moving forward with 5 people and not moving forward with the other 5, because answer the questions, make you the less risky candidate. I don't want to get you all the way through my process to find out you're not going to take the job. If I have 5 people that said this is what they're looking to make and it's in the range that I'm looking to hire, then I'm moving forward with those 5. The ones that said, well, I'm open, it kind of, I just want the opportunity. Sorry, there's too much risk with you. I can't guarantee that I can give everyone on my executive team the time to spend with you for you to turn down the offer, because then you'll embarrass me. So with the phone screener, they really just want to make sure that you're in the ballpark. So here's what I would say. Research the job, and then you say, when they ask the inevitable question, what are you looking to make? What's your compensation requirements? What are your salary requirements? Well, based on my research, what I can tell, I think the job pays around $105,000 a year. That seems reasonable based on the position description. Am I right? Now, you've obviously pinged it back to them. You've made them feel compelled to give you an answer, which is good. And hopefully they'll give you some information. But you've also not committed to the number. You've never even told them what you're looking for. You just told them what you think the job should pay, which gives you leeway 3 months from now, 1 month from now, to actually then negotiate the price differently. Or it gives you a chance to actually still renegotiate the offer, because you never actually said you were going to accept it. You just said what you thought it should pay. So, and the other key tip, and I hit this one on Instagram this week, don't ever give a range, okay? If you're looking for $100,000 a year, don't say, I'm looking for 90 to 110, because the hiring manager is going to hear 90. You were hoping for 100, and you're saying, well, I said up to 110, so obviously 100 makes sense. No, the hiring manager just heard, you will accept $90,000 a year. Why would I give you $93,000 a year? Why would I give you $97,000? You're going to take 90. And I don't know anything about you yet. Now, again, this is all like cold calling your resume, not having a network established at the company. That's what this tip is really for. But truthfully, I don't give ranges, or I don't recommend giving ranges unless it's a really small range, okay? 100 to 105, 55 to 57,000, somewhere in there. That's a range that I would give. I would not give a big range. Okay, we're running out of time. You guys have to get better at listening. John in Cyprus, how do you pick between all your trainings and certifications that go on your resume? This is a really good question. So, especially oil and gas guys, right? I see your book. I'm trying to find it. If I had one, sorry. I digress. I shouldn't have gone to the floor. I can't find it right now. But I've seen the laundry list of trainings: BOCETs, well control, advanced firefighting, basic firefighting, MARPOL. These are all offshore certifications for everyone else. People don't care about all that stuff, okay? What we probably care about are the required trainings that are going to help you get the job offshore. They don't need to actually know the the trainings that aren't relevant. So make sure that the trainings you're putting on your resume are relevant to the job you're applying for. If you're an offshore guy and you're trying to become a land guy, no one cares about your MARPOL, okay? Your marine sea debris. Doesn't matter. Now, if you're applying to be back offshore, then you should be able to customize those training sessions to make sure that I know as a recruiter, it's going to cost a lot less to hire Chris than it is to hire Neil. Because now I've seen that Chris's training is up to speed and Neil's is at least missing, so I don't know. So make sure the training is relevant to the job, but we don't need to see every training for everything. And while I'm on that point too, I've worked with a couple of Marines this week, and they had some of their awards on there. Now, I'm a jarhead, and by the way, I got a haircut this week. If you haven't gotten a haircut yet, it is phenomenal. I remember we used to take those things for granted. I got one for the first time in 5-6 weeks, probably longer, probably 2.5 months actually. And it was a delightful experience, liberating. So I highly recommend it. But awards, if you're in the military, getting out of the military, don't say I got a Navy Marine Corps Commendation Medal. Say what you got a medal for. Awarded, recognized, and awarded for fill in the blank. Now, here's a pet peeve of mine too for military guys. Don't put something on your resume and then give me the bull crap of, I'm not allowed to talk about that. That was classified information. Okay, I was a top secret level of security in the Marine Corps. If you don't want to talk about it, then don't put it on your resume. Because what you're going to do is you're going to aggravate the person behind the phone on the desk who's trying to get more information about something you put on your resume, and then you don't want to talk about it. It just makes you kind of come off like an arrogant guy who's just way too cool for school. And as a loser in school, I totally understand and I can recognize that very quickly. So make sure that when you're on that anything you put on your resume is fair game, you're able to talk about it, and frankly, you have prepared answers to discuss it. And then the last question is, Nate in Houston, I'm applying to multiple jobs this week. What is your strategy of keeping track of them all? This is a really good question. And actually I have a system when you're applying to jobs. So first of all, if you're applying to multiple jobs, do not apply to more than one job for the same company unless they are very closely related, okay? You should not apply to be a CPA and the chief operating officer. You can apply to be the CPA, CFO, senior manager over finance. You can apply to all that, but don't apply to two different things, because what it shows me as a recruiter is Carissa just needs a job and she doesn't actually have a focus. I want to hire someone with a focus and a passion. And if you're applying to everything, you have no passion and you have no focus. So make sure that you're applying to one, maybe two roles in the same company, and make sure if you are, they are aligned in the same silo. So that's the first thing. Next, once you've applied to a job, you do three things. You print the job description, you print the about page of the company, and you also go to salary.com, payscale.com, Indeed, Glassdoor, and you write down where you think the salary should be for that job on the job description. And then the last thing you do is you print out the resume, because you're customizing your resume, right? You're making sure this is a specific resume for that job. So you're printing out that resume that you used to apply to that job. You're stapling them all together. And now they are in a folder with you at all times. Because you are never going to get the call 3 minutes later from your desk. You're going to get up and go, hey, Tony Martin, I just saw you applied to 3M. Yeah, that's never going to happen. They're going to call you on some obscure Tuesday when you're in the middle of walking your dog, your 3-year-old is crying, and there's chaos around you. And hopefully, if you're doing this correctly, you're applying to multiple jobs in multiple companies a week. So fast forward 5 weeks from now, you get a phone call from OKC Times in Texas. And they say, hey, Tony, thanks so much for applying to our jobs. You have 5 minutes to talk? First of all, the answer is no. Believe it or not, don't be a people pleaser. Don't say, when I call you out of the blue at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, can you talk right now? Say, I don't care if you can. It's not about that. It's about setting the table and allowing yourself some time to actually get ready for the interview. Say, hey, look, Joe, I can absolutely talk right now, but I got 3 things. I got my kid is screaming. Can you just give me 2 minutes to run to my office, close my door, and give you my undivided attention? Can I call you back at this number? Now with that, even if it's not true, even if they had your undivided attention, it lets you go to that folder that should be with you at all times. Go, what the heck was OKC Times in Texas? Here's the position description, here's the about company, and here's the resume I used to apply them. You quickly refresh your information. Yep, this is what they do, this is why they do it, and this is their mission. Because then when you call Joe back, hopefully that's the right name, when you call him back, you're actually going to be able to answer the question, why do you want to work for us? Which is going to be the first question you're going to get. And if you don't know who they are, you are going to respond the way 15% of the candidates I have hired during a hot market have responded, which is either A, with a lie. Well, I know you guys have this and that, and I'm really excited about it. We don't have this or that. We only have this. So you got me confused in another company. Or they're going to say a more honest answer, which is, look, to be honest with you, Tony, I've applied to like 20 companies in the past month. I'm not even sure what you guys do right now. Also a terrible answer. So be sure that you can set the table and have the interview on your own terms. I guarantee if somebody has called you for a phone screen, they have set 20 minutes aside for you to be able to do a phone screen with them, which means they will have 2 minutes, not 20, they will have 2 minutes for you to call them back. And if you have all your information where it should be, on the car seat next to you when you're driving, it should always be with you, this portfolio of information. Then you're always going to be able to be prepared to answer the interview in the best possible way and not hurt yourself by trying to be a people pleaser and just accommodate to their schedules. Whew, that was a lot of information. So I definitely appreciate everyone. Again, if you have any questions, I'm happy to stick around for a few more minutes, so feel free to type in your questions in the bottom there. But as always, like I kind of alluded to, if you like this, I would love for you to share it. I would love for you to post it on your own Facebook pages or share it in whatever social media. Please follow us on YouTube too, Hired How to Get the Job. It's our YouTube channel. Please follow us there so that way if you can't see one of these things or you're not able to make one of these, then whether we're posting stuff on LinkedIn or posting stuff on Facebook, it'll all be uploaded there so you can keep it part of your social media, educational process during this job hunt. And as always, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here and watching, and I look forward to catching up with you next week and get a haircut because it'll feel great. If you live in Texas, they're open. Bye.